Welcome back. What's going on? Thank you for joining me today. It is the Dispensary Live. We cover everything from news, culture, and everything in between. The only thing we really got to cover today is what you need to hear. I'm joined today by my brother from another mother, Trevor, Wisconsin native. And if you don't know him, you ought to. I appreciate you being here, brother.
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be back from the holidays. Sad time of the year. We're finally past all the busyness, the holidays. I hope everyone out there, you included, had a great holidays full of merriness and good tidings just across the board. But now we're in the new year. So first podcast of the new year. Is excited to be back. I'm excited to be back. Excited to see what we've all got in front of us for the year. So in that sense, a little bit of a rundown on the podcast. I mean, to start off, we're going to be going through some articles with the industry. With new year comes new changes, especially in the industry. So we're going to get a little bit of a coverage on all that. We're going to be able to show some video segments of our behind the scenes going ons within the companies and kind of what we're up to within the communities. And then don't forget, at the end of the podcast, we will have our giveaway. So make sure you stick around to watch for that. But yeah, we'll jump right in. I mean, starting off, we have a pretty good article today. It's going to be all about Ohio.
OH.
So, and what it is it's basically an article covering Ohio's recreational cannabis sales surpassed $242 million in 2024. Keep in mind that is only for 5 months of the year.
5 months, 242 million.
Yeah. So I would say,
whoa,
to a degree, is pretty rapid, but also pretty successful on their side of things. One of the biggest things from that I noticed that came out of that growth so quick was some of the breakdowns of the numbers. But I would also want to, and I'll dive into those numbers, but something I would want to touch base on is the fact that they were also a dual use model. So they're basically combining their medical and sales, their medical and recreational sales all together at once. But they are at that point as a pro because they're earning 20% more revenue.
On the which side?
On because they're doing a dual use.
So method. I mean, where are they getting the markup from? Or not to say where they're getting the markup.
No, their total sales are going to get 20% increase with the combination of their medical and recreational sales.
By combining forces, they're seeing a
big increase, which is one of the pros. But there's also a con to that, which is there's separate rules for both the medical and recreational.
And I can think of one in particular that I've run into as a consumer myself. Hey, Mr. Person or Mrs. Person with a medical card, how much do you pay for your ounce? Oh, there is a difference.
There is a difference. And that can, like I said, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to the dual use model that they are putting into place. They're also, on that note, because of the fact that they are putting it all together, they've been able to pull a lot of stats for where the revenue is, what they're seeing in other industries, combined, like having a domino effect from the medical and recreational loss. So, for instance, 30% increase right now in demand for commercial properties in cannabis zones. So,
just the property alone.
Yeah. Yep. And they're seeing an 8 to 12% increase in property values.
Oh, so naturally.
Being in that area.
Money's rolling in, baby.
The benefit of it, which I know I've had many conversations with a lot of people throughout just my life of like pros and cons of having industry move into different areas. If you're seeing an 8 to 12% increase on your property value, I would say that's pretty top tier. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of combinations of like what comes with the industry or what comes with the businesses when they move into those areas.
Naturally.
Well, for instance,
I'm about to say something I can think of as well as my stomach.
Well, yeah, and that's restaurants and retail spaces in those areas are increasing about 15% on sales. So people are getting the products they want, they're using them, and they're having those added benefits of, oh, now I'm super hungry, so I'm going to go hit up some restaurants in our local area. Another big pro in my book. You also have the over 1,500 construction jobs that have come around from it. And that, from my side of things, would be coming into building of the actual buildings that these dispensaries are going to go into, storage places, all the different realms that the industry reaches out into. Well, you got to build it. So at that point, Ohio, after now making it legal and bringing it in, they have to be able to support that. So they have to create the spaces, and that is creating many construction jobs. And then on top of that, you're looking at the cannabis tourism itself, because, people around them who want to go and get some product can now travel in state, and they're seeing $25 million boost to Ohio's economy.
Jeez Louise.
Yep. And now you think about all those increases across the board, and you think about the fact that it was only 5 months.
Yes.
Imagine a year. If they get once they get a full year of data, I would love to see a comparison of how these numbers kind of balance out, or if there's even more skewedness of like increase of profit that has come from it. Really, really crazy. I'm all for it. I love seeing the industry itself grow, but then to see how it's affecting the industries of others around us, whether it be construction, restaurants, so on, so retail, is phenomenal. But even just to see it help boost the communities. When you're looking at like an 8 to 12% increase in property value, well, you're going to see people taking their neighborhoods more serious, and hopefully you see more pumped into those neighborhoods. It's a whole lot of up. There's really no ceiling above it in the sense of like where they could go with the funds that they're pulling in and the involvement in the communities that they could have from that. Only one of the things that I saw in the article that did stand out was any kind of limits to market expansion. And so if they start putting limits on to the market of how it's expanding, you could start seeing cannabis deserts. A study in California actually found that bans were more common in smaller and less affluent municipalities.
There you go.
Yeah. And then veterans also living in areas with those bans, they're not going to have to travel further. So one is going to cost them more in the travel times. They're going to have to dedicate more time to get to these zones.
They need more resources to get there. And a lot of veterans, especially homeless veterans, don't have enough resources to be able to get the quality of effect on life that hemp derived, marijuana derived, doesn't matter. That cannabis can give you in general.
So the whole idea of like a cannabis desert of these big sprawling zones without it, because of the bans that are happening now, people having to move around. But then you can also, when you look at that and then you're looking at the pros of it, like, oh, well, when they aren't putting as much limit onto the expansion, and you saw what they did in the first 5 months.
Just 5 months.
Exactly. Like, would you rather have the cannabis desert that's not going to cause more issues to the day-to-day person, or would you rather have more expansion and more benefits that come with it? Like,
correct.
Reflecting on, like, when you look back at the numbers I was talking about, the 30% increase demand on commercial properties, the 8 to 12% increase on property values, the jobs, the amount that tourism's brought in, like, where do you start to put that money? And I think that's a big part of the conversation that needs to come back to the table, especially when you do look at bans that are put into place to limit the expansion. Well, what if you're using that money to fund education?
Come on now.
Infrastructure, community health programs, or you're just reinvesting into communities that were disproportionately affected by past cannabis criminalization, which is only right. If you're starting to see more doors open for the cannabis industry, the places that have been targeted or hit in the past, in my opinion, should be the first ones that are reevaluated of now we have to catch them up to where everyone else is, because they haven't been put on the back burner like these areas have that have been disproportionately hit by the laws. So that's all good stuff. Funding, any type of funding that you can do for education, infrastructure, stuff like that, that's not just an added tax increase, is a good thing, especially when you look at the top revenue generating states. I mean, you can talk about California. They were nearly $1.1 billion. Arizona, $1 billion in sales. New York, $1 billion in sales. Even when you look at the low end of the top earning, you have states like Vermont, Rhode Island, Delaware, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. That is still $10 million, $15 million, $20 million. They did not have that. They can now pump back into what they deem fit, and it will always come back to what they deem fit. But if it's not going to affect your everyday person out there because you already have the funds, that's a pro. So a lot of money moving around in the industry, a lot of growth, a lot of expansion. That's why one of my biggest things I'm looking forward to in 2025 is figuring out, where does the expansion all go at this point? Where do we keep building to, and how much resistance is going to be there, and how much support is going to be there from the people in the different communities that are working. So
right, I can think of about 11 different communities here in Wisconsin that are getting genuinely infected or impacted by good actors and solid information.
No, 100%. And I mean, one of them being our Green Bay. We have a store in Green Bay East. We have stores in Green Bay West. We have Appleton. As you guys know, we have them all over the state. And that's just Wisconsin, right? I think there's a whole avenue to see if all the states were in the same playing ground. Where do we get to at that point? But yeah, no, that's just Ohio right now. Again, 5 months. 5 months wasn't the whole year. It wasn't a huge amount of time for them to be able to put these systems into place. And now we have all 2025. And I'm excited to hopefully a year from now come back and check this one out and see what their numbers and growth has been, and to see where the rest of the country is at behind them. So
absolutely.
But yeah, so we'll take a little quick break from the articles. I would love to put on a little video for everybody here covering one of our joint adventures at the Green Bay UFO Museum. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit when we come back.
Is there a direct affiliation with the next door and some of the folks that walk in, and or is there any sort of relation here in your record store with the Wisconsin industry?
Well, we share a wall, couple walls actually, with the dispensary. More often than people coming in and we smell weed on them, they come in and smell weed on us. A lot of people like it, think it's pretty cool. Some people have not been real jacked on it. I get it. Like, it's not everybody's favorite odor or whatever, but we honestly wouldn't have it any other way.
And that's the joint adventure via GBUFO. Just a little sneak peek. If you're interested in seeing the full thing, check it out. We got it up there on the video playlist. But before we keep going with the GBUFO talk, I want to shout out Puff Prince in the comments from Sheboygan. Thanks for being here, brother. Genuinely. Mr. Andrew, Babyface Trev is on set.
I was just about to make a comment about
He is on set. Babyface Trev is rocking today.
cleaning it up a little bit, you know.
We got Homestead and Squirrel Hill in here. Shout out Pennsylvania. You already know we talked about you a few weeks ago, and we still love you. Black and Yellow. And then we got, who is that? Jamire. Yo, Trev, my dog said hi back. He barked. Let's go. The puppy said hi.
These comments.
We got Gray.
Out of control.
Shout outs from Sunny P. We got Kelly in there. What's up, baby girl? Thanks for watching tonight. But yeah, back to GBUFO. Thanks for everybody for tuning in, genuinely. We got the giveaway at the end as well. But if you're looking for something cool to do, maybe it's a date night, maybe it's just a still cold day here in Green Bay. The collection of vinyl records that is at GBUFO and the assortment of like knickknacks that you can buy from 1970, 1980, 1990, all the cool nostalgia right there, connected, sharing a wall with the Dispensary Green Bay East.
What was the first thing you noticed
about the store?
Or what was the craziest thing you noticed when you were in there? It's a pretty rad shop. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot to catch your eye. So I'm just curious, what's the
first thing you notice when you walk in is the abundance of having just smoked smell in the air. You know what I mean? Like good smelling, having just smoked pot smell in that place. As soon as you walk in, you're like, okay, so you're at ease with the smell, but then you walk down these 3 or 4 steps and you're just met with probably the biggest vinyl collection your boy has ever seen. And it literally goes from here to that wall, all the way to behind this wall to the other side of the store.
Crazy.
It's quite a collection. And they got this this mascot in there. I forget his name. Check out the video for the mascot name, but very interesting character.
All right.
And the folks that work there are genuine supporters of, you know, the industry as a whole, but not like advocacy, but just like, yeah, this is the culture here.
That's how it should be.
You know,
100%.
Really cool joint adventure though.
No, very cool. Like Jacob said, if you haven't watched and check out that whole video, or go check out their shop in general. Like we said, it's right next door to our Green Bay East location. So while you're over there, check out Green Bay East store. But let's we can dive right back into some more articles. We
got a heater lined up next.
We do indeed. The next one that we are going to talk about is going to be cannabis industry provides relief as wildfires rage across Los Angeles.
If you haven't seen it on TikTok, if you have, shout out TikTok, still surviving.
It's-
Mr. Beast is trying to buy it, but if you haven't seen the wildfire coverage on any sort of platform, you've been living under a rock.
I got a brother right in the middle of it.
Shut
Yeah,
up.
right, like basically right after I talked to him the other day, and I was like, "Hey, you safe and everything?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. But here, I'll send you a picture to show you like what I can see from where he's living."
Yeah,
Sends me the photo, and it is the hills of LA like on fire.
shut up.
Yeah, and I was like, "Dude, just be careful of that." But it's real, and I'm sure most of our viewers have seen it. We're
Right.
been exposed to it in some sense. But
Unless you're under a rock and you just made it out, thanks for joining us.
it is unfathomable. It is hardcore, and it is just a sad thing to see for all the people that live out there, work out there, have just responsibilities there just in general, because
Just a-
it is a mess, and it is travesty. So to watch how that's all rebuilding is going to be crazy, but it is super cool to see the cannabis industry involved.
Period.
Yeah, just taking steps, getting involved, lending a hand, doing what they can, and putting a good mark on the industry across the board. I think like right now, some of the companies that are standing out there are Catalyst and Mammoth Distribution. They've implemented safety measures like evacuation plans and operational adjustments. You got Gelato, Canico, and the Artistry. They've raised funds and donated supplies for wildfire relief efforts. And the Artistry also has been running donation campaigns for wildfire victims, offering consumers a way to contribute through purchases.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Raising funds.
Easy things that they can just do, and easy for me sitting here. I can say it's easy from here. It's not as easy when you're actually behind the scenes doing it all and getting it all moving. But just to put some steps into place for themselves that they can lend a hand is wild to see. It's what we look for as an industry is what we are looking for, and what we want to see.
Yeah, and speaking of possibly cannabis industry helping out even more, from what I know about cannabis is that you can grow it in one place and sell it in another. So although the croppage, indoor, outdoor, whatever, may be to a crisp right now on the ground in ash, there's a pretty big opportunity for not only the facilities, not necessarily being rebuilt, but for repurposing facilities and for relocating people that have now lost jobs. If they can move to now a state that does allow the growing of type deal, like if, let's hypothetically say some displaced Californians were to end up in Wisconsin. Hemp for Heroes has a grow house that grows high quality cannabis. They could probably use more experts, and likewise with a bunch of other places in Wisconsin, because the average acreage has grown exponentially since the Farm Bill rolled out in 2018. Every year, the acreage covered in Wisconsin for growers has just grown. And why not use the opportunity like a fire to potentially house, not necessarily business, but impact lives as well, to have a place to grow essentially.
Hand in hand. It just goes it goes right in hand. There's people that can support it somewhere, and they need to move elsewhere for the time being to support the industry and businesses that they have. Yeah, why not balance it out? One other big point with the fires in California that through this article, kind of some points got brought up to me, was when you look at the significant role that one group is playing in the firefighting, and that is California's inmate firefighter program.
What?
Yeah. So right now, if they are inmates, they can enroll in a firefighter program. They get wages. They get wages for doing this. But 10 to 15% of incarcerated in California were charged with cannabis-related offenses prior to legalization. About 9,000 people. And if they are even on their own right lending a hand in the firefighting efforts, again, it's showing a good mark on the industry and the people that use the products from the industry.
Yes.
And I think in that sense, if they have programs in place to give them opportunities like that, it's a matter of what are other states doing to address this also.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at Illinois. They've expunged records for nonviolent cannabis offenses as part of legalization. You also have in Illinois, they allocate 25% of their cannabis tax revenue to communities disproportionately affected by drug policies. New York, they created a justice-involved license program, prioritizing those with cannabis-related offenses for licenses. So when you're looking at what some other states are doing, what could we keep doing, especially as we're seeing more and more legalization come around, and then you're looking at the people who have been negatively impacted by the laws before they were legal. How do you adjust that? How do you make it right on all counts?
Right. And then forecasting into the future, how do we help disasters like this kind of be kind of fire controlled, if you will? So like considering Hempcrete, which I know is not legal yet in Wisconsin, but there are studies out there that show that Hempcrete can withstand over 1,800 degrees
Impressive
Fahrenheit. So an outlet fire might not take the whole place if it was made out of Hempcrete, but we got a long ways to go when it comes to the developments of those construction materials and the approval of anyways, because from what I've been told is hemp is a lot more efficient to build with anyways.
Well, if one aspect this can shine a light on is the benefits of hemp and what else it can be used for and do, that's a pro across the board.
That is the testimony in and of itself.
In and of itself. Yep. So in that sense, we'll see. First off, we'll see what the final results are of the fire when it's fully done and situated for a moment. We'll get to see really how those communities kind of unite to take care of the problem and rebuild. But then also, hopefully, we can see how the light is shined on different products like the Hempcrete.
Right.
But yeah, thoughts are out there with any victims from California dealing and sorting through this situation. And only hoping for the best for them at that point.
And the families of the victims affected. By all means, if you have the space, open up your heart, open up your dollar book. You already know what it is. Before we get going into the next not necessarily the next testimonial, because like we're talking about cannabis testimony directly impacting lives. We have a testimonial feature from a couple that's gonna rock your socks. But before we keep rolling, production in the house, midlife crisis. Shane, what's up, Big Daddy? Shoddy, howdy from Weston. Thank you for being here. Genuinely. Jamie Ray, shout out to Weston. Welcome to the live. Shoddy again with the turtle. We got the reps in the house tonight. Timbo Slice. Shout out to the firemen and women helping save the people's lives and the planet's. Genuinely good comment.
Preach.
Genuinely good comment there, Timbo. But we're going to rock out with this testimonial, this little clip, if you will. You can check out the full-length feature on the YouTube channel. It's in the other videos. Scroll over if you'd like to leave now, but we're live right now. Keep it locked.
Well, for starters, I have both fibromyalgia and an arthritis that is very long and hard to say, so I'm not even going to try. But I have severe issues with my mobility and my movement and stuff like that. And honestly, it has changed my life. It has given me a sense of mobility that I didn't have before. And it helps in so many different ways. And I'm really eager to get to share about it.
I almost lost my shit. Oh my God. Dude, I know what you mean by it, though. I do.
Shout out testimonials coming in clutch. They're what make our industry go, period. From us coming to it to the first time to the very first time you tried it back in 8th grade. You know who I'm talking to when I'm pointing at you. This whole thing has been a snowball movement. Thank you for tuning in today. Going into our third article, we've got big things talking about the farm bill protections remain for hemp amid federal budget chaos. No, the old whites can't figure out what to do with the money that we produce.
Zero idea.
They have
no idea.
It's infuriating.
Especially when you can, like, after we just got done talking about what you could use them for, like infrastructure, fund education, fund community programs, stuff like that, right there. But the fact that it's such a challenge is kind of eye-opening around the people in charge of figuring out what to do with the budget, with the revenue.
How much revenue again?
1.8 estimated revenue from hemp-derived
1.8 billion,
THC
folks. 1.8 billion
in 2024. It's a whole lot of moolah.
That's fucking ridiculous, brother.
Yeah. And so then in that same sense, you're looking at that and you're looking at them talking about putting up different bans. stuff like that. Like I mentioned earlier, the cannabis deserts. Like you're looking at states looking to put bans on Delta 8 or Delta 10 or already have, and now it's just making it harder to establish more consistent products for the consumers. It's also making it hard to establish consistent labeling and proper labeling that are going on the products because you're not getting to see, to a degree, the trial and error of these products and how they need to be adjusted to fit the market accurately. And when I look at $1.8 billion of estimated revenue, I know there's a challenge of where do we put or utilize all that money. But you'd rather have it than not have it. So when you're looking at the bans being put into place, it's just counterintuitive from my standpoint. I don't know.
Why would you want to ban something that's so good for you? Or that tends to be so good
change
for
is
you, I
scary.
should say, according to the laws.
From my standpoint, change is scary. People don't like new stuff and new things, especially if they've been demonized in the past. And then once you get stuck in the thought of that line of thinking, it's very hard to break a habit, or a thought process. So in that point, that's why education just keeps coming back and having to be one of the main factors that us as a company, us in the industry, or as individuals trying to advocate for it. Education, just hitting it home over and over and over again is key.
Almost preaching from like a cannabinoid control center type of viewpoint. You know what I mean? As to educating everybody, even at an earlier age, maybe like high school years, as to plant knowledge.
All I know is when I was young, I was taught that it was the devil's lettuce. And bad. Like that was the education I got on it growing up. So in the grand scheme of it, it's like, what do you do if you expose a little bit more, lean into the education side of it with younger people, especially even if it's a matter of education of the pros and cons of it. Now you're at least breaking it all down clear cut for everybody involved. So
not everybody cares about the science, but people do care about results.
I would say so. And 1.8 billion is a heck of a result.
It's a pretty damn big result in 2024 alone. But something that does come with a lot of money is a lot of risk as well. Like of that 1.8 billion, how many were bad actors? How many of them were placating on like packaging that might not necessarily be intended to be
Chester Cheetos? You got those Chester Cheeto THC infused products with a big Cheeto right on the front of it that has the sunglasses.
Right. So in that 1.8 million, we also have potentially a little bit of a hit to the overall transparency and integrity of it. But like anything that makes money, there's going to be people that have their own intentions.
Well, same thing with like the creation or forming of the products. Like if you have companies that are cutting corners or using byproducts in their products to boost it or whatever they want to in the grand scheme of things, it's just, again, only going to shine a bad light on the industry, which at the end of the day, with the farm bill protections remaining for right now, we're trying to keep those in place and not throw the whole industry into chaos. You would hope everybody would want to be, as you would put it, a good actor in this sense.
Correct.
So it's a crazy era. It's a wild, wild west a little bit in the sense of how regulations and laws and everything are forming and how people are getting involved in the industry. And it's one of those things that, like, as even month to month, quarter to quarter of the year goes by, or year to year, how does it evolve is the big question. And that's, again, where a big focus for me this year is to see how that's all going to shape out.
And accountability, like accountability being the essence of change. That everybody holds themselves accountable. We can actually, grow as a unit. But from a Wisconsin standpoint, the farmers rely heavily on those protections. And if the farm bill does get impacted in a negative way, that constant progression of acreage that I mentioned earlier, that's been growing every year. The farm bill has been out. I would hate to see that stalemate, if not go away. You know what I mean?
Me too. And it's one of those things where if you don't want to see it go away, there are things you can do. Contact your reps. It's important to be educated on who your rep is, what your rep stands for, and what they're doing for you. So first things first is contact your reps, vocalize your opinions, and make sure they know what you're looking for them to do. Also stay informed. You can listen to like our podcast right here. Check us out, watch these. share the episodes with other people. And there's other sources out there too for good information. It's just educating yourself and staying relevant on the information. Support ethical brands. Make sure you're looking into what the brand is doing, who they are, and what they're aiming to do, and what they're doing with their products. And join advocacy if you can. Reach out to different organizations, see what you can do from your community to help support the industry and push it forward. And that's all stuff that you can do coming into 2025. So big part of that too, actually, this kind of segues perfectly into our next little video segment for you guys.
A little talking point.
Is one of our recent guests on our show is a very, very, very big advocate for the state of Wisconsin in general, but in overall sense, the industry. And pretty much every point that was covered in this article were points that when we talked to him came up heavy over and over and over again. So on that note, we'd actually love to take you guys over to our little video segment. A
little sneak peek, if you will.
Sneak peek.
Full-length video dropping soon. A little sneak peek of a picture.
Sneak peek of a picture. Gotcha. So
ain't nothing wrong with that.
A little subtle change on that one. Just watch for the video to drop. It's going to be a banger. It was a very, very, very good conversation.
Informative.
Yeah, very informative. He is a plethora of knowledge around the industry and the movement to get the industry to be more at the forefront of things.
Small town boy, Poughkeepsie, Wisconsin. Shout out if you're watching, you're from Poughkeepsie, or even from around the parts. Who knows?
Exactly right. So on that note, watch for that video to drop, and then why don't we jump into another article here, huh?
One more article, but before we get going with the article, there's the
you
picture.
Do a little shout out.
Yeah, a little bit more shout outs there. Go ahead and get after those comments.
Ooh, I personally, the James Monroe Turtle Power is pressure. It's just a clever one. I like it. It sticks.
Shout out Squirrel
That
Hill.
has a turtle power. I love it. Great job, everyone. Appreciate the shout outs, everybody.
Shout out Mama. Love to hear the future convos from the menopause benefits. So many women I know are benefiting, especially from the joint pain and sleep issues. North Carolina needs it. North Carolina's got it. If you're on the board, if you're on the YouTube board and you're watching this video, Greensboro, North Carolina, check out that store, the Dispensary, Greensboro. They have a abundance of information online, as well as plenty of product resources for you as well. So if you're a woman and you're at that age in life where things are a different level of interesting or tough per the menopause, you don't got to smoke it. You don't got to eat it. Pretty soon you'll be able to drink it. We got a lot of things going on at the podcast live. So thank you very much for being here. And thank you for throwing your comment down.
Any type of questions or stuff like that in the future, leave the comments, because we'll make notes of that and we'll see what we can do to cover those types of answers in the future. So,
but taking it back home to where I'm from on the East Coast, DC's talking about opening up I'm going to say fuck ton of stores in the medicinal department, as opposed to the hemp market. Like we've seen the bit of an explosion in California. In DC, they're about to throw up a plethora. About 270 dispensary licenses have been issued out there. And with 35 licenses must open within 120 days of issuance, meaning that the folks have to have the building squared away. They have to be in the right zone, and they have to have all the minute little details buttoned up in 120 days, bro.
I'll tell you right now,
I can't get in shape in 120 days.
I'll tell you right now, having been part of opening stores, it's doable. But yeah, you really need to have all your T's crossed and I's dotted. At that point, 120 days, 4 months to get them open. I would say there's a little bit of pressure right there.
Anybody in DC, around the DC area that lives there, throw down your rent in the comment sections, because I'm about to lay one down on the folks here that are watching from all over Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. The average rent estimated cost in the retail space in DC right now, before tax, $4,500 a month, all the way up to as high as $12,000 a month.
Just for rent.
Just for rent. And if you've ever been to DC and you've seen the glorious monuments, you sat on Abraham Lincoln's steps and you've looked out and you've seen all the people that are wandering that do not live there. It is crazy to think that people can just afford to live there like that.
No, for real, when you
I
break down
can't.
4,500 to 12,000 for a retail space, like what is a house rent? Like,
Yes,
Pretty-
the apartments
pretty
are,
stacked.
they look glorious in the distance, but you start talking numbers, it's a different level. But
100%.
there's an explosive growth opportunity, obviously,
Sounds familiar.
with 270 dispensary licenses. It's kind of crazy because in Virginia, they outlawed, they outlawed hemp sales essentially in Virginia, but they do allow the medicinal marijuana at certain locations.
Yeah.
Well, not in certain locations, but at, in Virginia. And now DC going towards the more medicinal side when they already have recreational dispensaries. And they even have recreational
Getting full
cannabis
footing.
dispensaries that have psilocybin products in their dispensaries as well.
Just getting full footing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Getting full footing. That's what it's about.
I love how subtle you are.
Well, it's true. Like, I
Just
mean,
so-
it really is like, if you're going to expand, why not expand fully?
and they
it
got to
comes back
expand
to-
quick. They got to expand really quick.
120 days, 4 months.
What's the podcast going to look like in 120 days?
I don't know.
Hopefully the people in the comments are still here.
I don't know. I just look at the DC article as they're trying to push for all these openings. There's a lot of expansion. We just did an article on Ohio,
Mhm.
massive expansion. Even if you look at Wisconsin since 2020 to now, a lot of expansion in our side of the industry. And those are only good things for everybody involved. For consumers, for people in the actual business side of it. Yes, competition's competition, but competition breeds greatness. That's just my 2 cents on it.
And the people will always identify the best as the best.
The best of the best.
Shout out the dispensary. The best of the best. Quick plug right there.
Just a little
The
plug.
sponsor of today's show, them and GBUFO, today's show sponsors.
What else? I mean, honestly, when we look at the challenges that they have in place
Mhm.
with costs of buildings, staffing, product, all that, you look at the restrictions, 120 days. Do you think they'll get it done?
I think of the 35 that were issued, I'm going to say half of them don't open. They've had recreational pot since 2014, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too much of a precedent for folks to be in there within the first 120 days. If they've gotten it, they'll probably reapply for it again. If the numbers aren't right on the building, mind you, stuff's going to change. We got a new president taking seat here in literally 4 days. Numbers across the economy are going to start shifting dramatically. Heavy, brother. And with these rent estimated prices and then that daily challenge of 120 days, who knows? Maybe it could be. I'm going to go ahead and say that probably about half of them don't. That would be my guess.
Well, we're
Thinking that the pressure is a little bit too immense.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna find out.
You damn right we are. If you're in DC,
Find out
let
on
us
that
know.
one.
But if you're not, if you're just willy-nilly hanging out in Pennsylvania, hanging out in Wisconsin, hanging out in North Carolina, watching the show, the program, Virginia, Ohio, even, thank you so much for being here. This is a really cool vest. A lot of comments right now talking about how cool this fucking vest is. And I want to say there's a store that's going to have these vests available for purchase coming very soon. So bear with us. We're in a transition. It's a brand new year. We got something.
Is that your vest?
It's up to something season here at the dispensary. Okay. Let 2025 get rolling and let's get everybody that wants a vest a damn vest because I love reading about it. Thank you guys so much for being
I
here.
think we
Let's
now
roll.
have a new merch item we have to have.
And if you made it this far, I think you want to button up DC now, man.
Yeah, I was just about to
I'm
say,
pretty good on it. They're opening up medicinal stores. Good for them.
Keep an eye out across the nation for more moves like this, I would imagine, in the next 6 to 12 months, and we'll see how it all shakes up. But
Yep.
it's coming quick. So,
And if you're a Division I athlete anywhere in the vicinity of DC, guess what? The NCAA has now abolished cannabis from being on the testing policy. So if you're at, Columbia University, if you're at, where did Taylor Heineke go to school at? Somewhere in DC, maybe around that area. Small town Virginia, I believe. But anyways, man, we need a session. We need a session after this. I'm blanking.
All right, it happens. But no, that's really it for the DC conversation.
That's all we got for DC. We got a giveaway coming up.
We do have a giveaway.
Thank you for sticking around this
if you're
long.
still here to watch for that,
Woo!
we have that coming up for you now. And again, just as an honest sense, thanks for tuning in and watching. Again, you guys, we really do appreciate the comments. Whether they are serious or more goofy, trying to get us to crack up, anything like that, it brings a little bit of freshness to the podcast as me and Jacob are here discussing stuff. So
Yeah,
please keep them going. And the more and more we can see on it, the better off it is for us. So
right.
and hit us up for best.
Let me know when the giveaway thing is on being displayed. Perfect. So it's on being displayed. Now we can talk about something else. Congratulations to all the winners and participants alike. Because if you participated and you didn't win, that means you still got the benefit of the product, in which I know is the best products in America, made by some of the best veterans and just Wisconsinites in general. Thank you so much for participating. There's your prize. There's your winners. We've got football playoff action going on, and I want to get Trevor and some comments rolling as to some matchup winners. I'm going to say a matchup. You're going to give me a winner, okay?
Okay.
Fairly simple. The Packers are home, so you don't got to really think too much. I know you don't. You're a big Packers guy.
Yeah.
I'm not talking shit, but I am. I'm sorry. I'm learning
I
to
was like,
love the
dude,
Packers.
you're opening it up right with that. Come on.
We got Chiefs versus Texans.
I don't like saying this, but Chiefs.
You don't like saying it, right?
I
But it's
don't.
reality that we live in.
There's somebody specifically within our company I'm thinking of. I don't want to see another Chiefs Super Bowl, but I do have to take them over Texans.
If you're a Swiftie, type Swiftie in the comments right there. I'd love to see it. Love to jam with you sometime. Next, we got the people that put the Packers out of the playoffs. We got the Eagles versus the Rams in Philly. In Philly.
Might get some hate on it. I'm going to lean towards the Eagles, because if we are going to get beat by somebody, I would love for that person to win the Super Bowl. So at least I can be like, we lost to the people who won the Super Bowl.
Yes, we lost to the champs, essentially. So it was only deemed necessary. And then we've got the Bills, Ravens.
Bills.
You going Bills?
Yeah.
Really?
Now,
Josh Allen finally breaking the wall.
if there's anybody
the wild
if
card
there's
wall.
anybody still playing that I really would root for, Josh Allen. I'd love to see it.
Even though Lamar's on a not Hall of Fame, but an MVP type, like he's shitting on his MVP numbers this year. He's just one guy, mind you.
Bills.
Let's go.
Bills
Close
doubling
one.
down.
1 3-point spread. What you got? Close one.
Close.
Yeah, I like it. And then
Bills do need to win this. I agree.
I'm gonna go with Chiefs, Eagles, and Ravens.
Perfect. Real quick before we let everybody go, I did see a comment in there. It was already in my mind to throw out there. I do want to just give a shout out to Mr. Bob Euchre, RIP. He sports legend, especially in Wisconsin, but in reality, any baseball fan out there that I've ever talked to has heard or had him influence them in some point in their sports journey. So I just had to give a shout out. I'd seen, I'm not sure who it was. I'd seen somebody in there, Big Chunga, mention RIP Bob. So also did want to throw out a shout out there too. So other than that, you guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here and the support. Make sure if you haven't, you like, share, and subscribe. And if you know anybody that would be interested in this kind of stuff, make sure you get it on the radar. Other than that, we'll see you guys in a month, and have a great rest of the week.
Great job, Trevor. I fucking love doing this one.